I got this. There we go. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being with us. This is the Public Safety Commission. We have two items today, and we're under a very tight time frame because we all want to be someplace, many of us want to be at a different meeting right afterwards. The first item that we're going to be discussing is the expedited bill 2723, which is the Policing Advisory Commission, and it's titled as a repeal, and we're going to have that discussion immediately. And the second one is the Executive Regulation 123, which is an updated position description for the Assistant Chief of Police, that's the civilian police chief. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Sakini, if she would please talk to us about, bring us through the expedited bill 2723. I'm trying to bring it up on my computer as we speak.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, committee members. And I should just mention at the outset that within the last hour, within a few minutes actually, we just uploaded, hopefully it's uploaded now, but at least you should have it by email. Is it uploaded? Okay. It was getting uploaded as I left the office. But the thing in the addenda, there's an addendum which is the packet that's going to be referenced during this discussion. There's a letter that has come in, was received today from some members of the PAC, the Policing Advisory Commission, including the chair, so that's been added, and one additional letter from the Silver Spring Justice Coalition. I should mention that apparently there's additional correspondence that has come in on this, maybe through the weekend, which is not addressed here. And I should also mention that I have not had an opportunity to carefully review or analyze the correspondence that came in today.
So, but all the correspondence, I mean, it's been last minute items, obviously, but all the correspondence would be a part of the full packet eventually. I understand it's not the second, but eventually.
Correct.
Yeah, very good. Thank you.
So the starting point, the bill as introduced was an expedited bill, 2723, titled Policing Advisory Commission Repeal. And so very simply, it was a bill to repeal the provisions of the code that provide for the Policing Advisory Commission. More recently, the co-sponsors of the bill, which is the chair of this committee, Councilmember Katz and Councilmember Lutke and Councilmember Katz, who are co-sponsors, have advanced some amendments. So, as you know, like I said, there's not really the original introduced bill was a repeal, and so the amendments that are being advanced would actually dramatically change. It's no longer repealing the bill, but it would be keeping the bill with some significant changes. And I'm happy to. I also would like to just highlight a few things in terms of.
As we talk about that one, so that we remember, and we're being joined by Councilmember Jawando, and welcome, Councilmember. Since we're talking about now not repealing, that, to me, we shouldn't have that in the title. If we can change the title of this legislation 2723 to do away with the word repeal, because anyone that's looking at it thinks that that's what we're discussing.
Correct, and as a procedural matter, because
Okay.
it was introduced as a repeal,
I understand.
we have to keep it that way, and that's why I'm jumping right into the amendments, because assuming there is if the committee is in agreement, and I would propose that the committee take a vote on whether to amend the bill as introduced and make it an amendment instead, then, and we'll have to take, I mean, those are decision points for the committee, starting with the fact.
You know, and that, it makes sense. Councilmember Joanna, did you? Yeah.
And thank you. Good to join you. I just had a question about that, because I've been told before there is a germaneness issue potentially. I know obviously the bill as introduced had a public hearing about repeal, and it was presented as kind of like just a fix and a technical amendment, just to get rid of something that would be duplicative. The amendments that are going to be discussed and proposed are really a new bill. It's entirely different. It's proposing to create something that does not exist, that is not the PAC, that is formed differently, functions differently, has different scope and mission, and is appointed differently. The public hearing that was received on this bill was about a repeal. And so I just think at a minimum, there would need to be a new public hearing. So I think we need to get some clarity on that. And to Councilmember Katz's point about the change in the name, it's really indicative of all those things. It's a different bill.
It's a valid point.
Yeah.
Please, Councilmember Lukey.
Thank you, and I certainly appreciate your comments, Councilmember Duando, and I know that right after the bill was introduced, I did have a discussion with you about this and said that, while this was introduced to take care of, as you noted, procedural housekeeping type of things and functionality things, that I firmly believe that there did need to be a place and a space for these types of discussions, and that I wanted to make sure we took time to do that. Now, the amendments that we have before us today in the packet are the product of discussions with the PAC and with other stakeholder groups that took place prior to the public hearing on the bill. So, there was time and opportunity for input on those issues and to have that discussion. But the reason the whole bill was labeled as emergency legislation in the first place was with respect only to the timing of the end of the terms of the existing PAC members. And the timing by which the PAB was to start receiving complaints on police accountability issues, which is July 1st, this Saturday. So just wanted to give that sort of broader overview of the housekeeping of this and how these amendments came to be.
And I'm appreciative of that, but to Councilmember Joando's point, I am concerned that we did have a public hearing on the words repeal. And that's not what is being suggested now, and anyone that would have come to that public hearing came to discuss that rather than any of the suggested, as worthy as all the amendments might be, they didn't come to discuss the amendments. I mean, so this might be the shortest part of this meeting today. I don't know how we could, in all fairness, have the discussions on the amendments without having the proper public hearing. You know what I'm trying to say, yeah.
I absolutely appreciate what you're trying to say. Now, I should mention that when this was advertised for a public hearing, the notice said, of course, it was titled repeal, so people were reacting to a repeal. We do have the generally, there's this language at the very end which says generally amend the law regarding policing and law enforcement. Now, I think it is a decision point for the committee and ultimately for council to decide whether you're comfortable with that. I mean, one option is.
Yeah, well.
Go ahead, I'm sorry, we're doing sidebars over here.
That's okay.
See, Will got here, started trouble, and now we gotta.
It is a very valid point, but I did want to draw on the fact that we do have the generic language that generally amend the law, but this it is pretty significant. So one option is the sponsors could withdraw the bill and just start over and have it drafted as an amendment.
Summarized the different options before. Okay, I'm gonna give it my best shot. So the options before us are to not consider the amendments and to consider the bill as originally introduced. That's one option. Option two is to withdraw the original bill and file a new bill, hold a new public hearing that includes the amended provisions and puts them all together in a neat package, which would involve repealing the old language and inserting all the new language that's put forth in the amendments. So those are the two options before us right now.
Go ahead, sure.
Left.
Thank you. The history with the switch over here.
Well, you never, this.
Yeah, I think that it's a great point that Councilmember Joando raises, and although I understand, legally it may be okay for us to move forward in terms of the germane nature, because of the language there, I agree that I would be concerned that the public has not had full opportunity to weigh in, and especially thinking back to the conversations that took place around the membership of the PAC and the development of the initial legislation where there was significant interest from the public and significant conversation. I think that we probably want to make sure that we open the doors of opportunity to make sure that we're able to have that full public discussion again. And also hearing and appreciating that the amendments came forth following the conversation with the PAC. And I think that's absolutely an important conversation that we have and include, so with appreciation to that process as well. And so I understand also, the shift from the original bill to this other, idea. And I would be, fine with that if we wanted to, pull this bill down and put in another bill and move forward with that and have that conversation. I would be supportive of that.
I'm for withdrawing this bill and rewriting it to the way that, and then having the public hearing, that people can come and give us their thoughts, positive, negative, everything in between, and then move forward. The only question that I have, though, on this, and it's been raised, I guess, in some of the correspondence that we've had, though I haven't had a chance to read every bit of the correspondence. I mean, it's come in the last 2 seconds. But the continuing of the Police Advisory Commission, as it is called today, do the people who are on the Police Advisory Commission continue in office while, because their term is going to be up as August 1st or whatever? How does that work?
That's a great question. So the charter has a provision which says if the enabling legislation did not provide for continuity, then the default is that people serving on any county board, BCC board, commission, committee, continue to serve for not more than 6 months, unless, and then there's some criteria.
We got to solve this one before
So
6 months.
there's a 6-month window
Okay.
of continuity. And I did check, the enabling legislation does not appear to have had any continuity provision, so I would assume that the 6 months applies.
Go ahead.
I just, since you were on that bit of particular housekeeping
Yours is
about,
working.
huh? I think so.
But it's not lit.
Well, we can't have everything. It's working. Since we're on that little bit of housekeeping piece with boards, committees, and commissions, the default under our statutory scheme is that they serve no more than 2 terms. I know that that's something that I know in other board, committee, and commission legislation I specifically wrote it into the bill to be extra clear about that. But it is my understanding that that is also overarching over all boards, committees, and commissions as well.
That is correct. The term, there is a term limit of 2 terms. However, we could research this further, but my opinion would be that this is not you're not extending their term. They wouldn't be getting a new term. It's simply, before you appoint the new members to serve on the commission, that there would be a 6-month. It's continuity of office. So what it is the idea, if you were keeping the PAC, you would appoint commissioners, right? And you would appoint them to 3-year terms. So,
Right.
but the idea is that if you're not yet ready to do that, there's some continuity of up to 6 months.
Right. In what would be their original term.
Correct.
Correct.
This is considered a continuation of the existing term.
And just to clarify procedurally, for someone who is serving a portion, like if you came in the middle of a term because you're replacing someone who left, you are allowed 1 additional term, correct? And for a total of 2 terms.
So the provisions regarding the PAC are that if you were appointed to serve, if you were appointed midterm, you only serve the remainder of the term that you were appointed to fill. So
Right.
let's say if the prior person had been appointed for a full term and then a second full term, but midway through the second full term they resign, you're not appointed for the next 3 years. You're appointed for whatever is left
Right.
in that term.
Right.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So are you comfortable withdrawing?
Yeah, I think we can withdraw the original bill, and you have what you need in order to clean it up and make it into the new and improved bill, which is the amended, brand-new version of what this will be called and what it would consider and contain, so that that can be introduced at full council and we can have another public hearing.
And I agree with that as well, so. Yeah, sure.
I appreciate that consideration, and as Councilmember Mink said, I look forward to engaging in the new bill process, and whether that in all its glory, as far as like what it'll entail. And I know we got info in from the PAC just last night. To your point, Councilmember Katz, I just was scanning that this morning myself. So I think it'll be good to, now that we have something to react to, that's going to be a new legislation for a new purpose, we can talk about it. I will point out that I just think it's important, as one of the original authors of the PAC legislation, how carefully considered and long that process was. It was multiple years, multiple stakeholder groups. We worked very closely with the NAACP and other groups, and it was in response to issues that have been long-going in the community. And as you'll remember, Councilmember Katz, there has been no board or commission that has had more interest. We had over 200 people apply to serve on the PAC. It's a record, and I've never, I might be off by 10 or, a little bit, but a significant number of people applied. I had never seen that. So I think it just underscores that how important and how much people care about these set of issues. So appreciate being able to join and share that.
Thank you. So are we clear on what we're trying to do here?
We are.
Yeah.
I suppose the co-sponsors will be introducing a brand-new bill, in which case this will not proceed. There's no recommendation to go forward with this.
Okay, thank you. And thank you to all who've been involved with this up to this moment. Now, the chief, Chief Jones, thought that the first part of this would take longer than 2 seconds, and it was pretty good thought, and he is on his way, it's my understanding, to talk to us about the second part of this, which is the updated position on the description for the Assistant Chief of Police, the civilian. He is a very significant part of that discussion, so we're going to recess until we see the chief, and then we're going to start our meeting again as soon as we see the chief. As I say, we're under a tight time frame, but we're still got to do it the right way. So, okay. So with that, we're on recess. We realized that you anticipated we'd be a little longer. We anticipated we'd be a little longer. So, but anyhow, we're going to be discussing, as you know, the executive regulation for 123, the updated position description for Assistant Chief of Police on the civilian side. And we sort of figured you were an important part of that discussion.
I appreciate that.
So, Ms. Farag, unless the committee members have any questions in the beginning, Ms. Farag, did you?
Good afternoon, everyone. This is pretty straightforward. Back in 2020, the council created a civilian assistant chief position that was meant to oversee community resources and do a lot of community outreach and engagement. That joins 4 other operational bureaus. The department did have an incumbent for less than a year. We can get more information from the chief as far as what their plans are as far as re-advertising and filling that position. But this amendment is just changing the civilian assistant chief position to ensure that they cannot direct the use of police powers provided to sworn officers under Maryland law. So it's clarifying their chain of command. They can direct people to do regular work, but not sworn police officer work.
Thank you. Chief, did you have any opening?
I don't have any opening statement, but I'll be glad to answer questions from that.
And I'm assuming I'm asking now.
Yes.
I should never assume, I guess. But I'm assuming that you're in agreement with what is being
Yes,
suggested
I am.
here?
Yes, absolutely.
Very good. Do are we?
Yeah,
good?
good.
Chief, this could be the shortest
Oh,
meeting
wow.
we've ever
Never had such a.
That elevator ride was lovely.
Just a point of information, though, we will be advertising, this will be a national search, so this is something that we will be getting this out in the near future in order to begin the process to find a civilian assistant chief, so just to put that on the record, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you all so very much.
Yeah, it's good seeing you.
Great to see you all.
Yeah. Ms. Frog, I guess you need a motion.
Affirmative.
Yes, would someone like to make?
Motion to approve?
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say, raise your hand. I guess I say aye. And it's unanimous. Thank you very much. And with that, we are adjourned.